So with the 21st of September being the 30th anniversary of Roslyns, I wanted to introduce you to Mr. Roslyn himself, our chairman and financial director, Martin Roslyn. Hello, Martin.
Hiya.
So thanks for joining me. Roslyn's being formed in 1992, 30 years anniversary of the company. So I just wanted to have a chat with you, find out a bit about what got us to this place and where we're going next. So what led you up to that point in your career? What was your first job, Martin?
I really had two first jobs. One making cakes at Lord Mountbatten's estate in Romsey, where I served what is now the King and Diana, Lady Diana, an ice cream. I think it was just Diana that had the ice cream, and they didn't have any money, so they got a freebie. And my first real job in proper hospitality was at a hotel just outside Newbury, the Elcott Park Hotel, where I started on New Year's Eve as a pot wash. And from there I worked as a waiter and a bartender, and as you do in independently run hotels, you end up working in just about every department and working long hours and very hard.
Yeah, that's quite a way to start your career, pot washing on New Year's Eve. That'll get you started with a bump, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Man, so would you say that you learned something even from those early jobs then that you've kept with you?
Yeah, the owner of the Elcott Park was a Scottish gentleman called Mr. Stern, and he was very hardworking, him and his wife, and he was very firm, very frugal, but he was also very, very fair. So if you worked very hard, you were suitably recompensed and thanked. But if you did something that he wasn't happy with, there was hell to pay. Everything had to be just so. Privately run hotel, very busy. So I learned that, and I believe that's held me in good stead for future years, how I deal with staff and people.
Yeah, good basing. Yeah, it's always good when you have a good boss early in your career that can teach you that kind of thing that you can take forward, isn't it? I know I had my own share of them, one in particular I remember in my earlier career who, shaped how I saw what you should do in that kind of in that managerial role, if you will.
Yeah.
I'd say in the last 30 years, since you started pot washing and then you started Roslyns in 1992, in those intervening 30 years alone, the hospitality industry and the pub industry in particular, we would say, there's been massive changes, and Roslyns have been there throughout all those changes. What would you say is the most striking difference between, say, running a pub business in 1992 when you started looking after those businesses to doing so now?
Well, 1992, you were allowed to smoke in pubs and clubs and hotels and restaurants. The majority of the pubs were smaller roomed, and there was a lot more pubs. Obviously, in every high street and every back street, there was a pub. So what's changed has the little rooms have gone, and we've gone to big expanses. Obviously makes it easier to serve. Technology has definitely changed. I didn't have a mobile phone when I started the business off. It was very expensive and not a lot of people had it. So technology, contact has definitely changed over the 30 years, as has the number of pubs, unfortunately.
Yeah, very true. Very true. It's a very different environment, I think, to when I started myself as a barman. The difference is almost specifically with technology. It's almost unrecognizable, isn't it? With instead of drawing a poster by hand and photocopying it at the local post office, there's a demand that you now have to kind of go out there on social media, have your own website, no matter the size of your business. So, yeah, I think we would agree. Yeah,
I think that within reason, back then you could have clean toilets, have good beer, and open the doors, and you were busy. Obviously, that is so far from the truth now. You've really got to work hard.
Yeah, it's a very tough market. And we know that from talking to our clients, from talking to the industry at large as we do. And yeah, I would agree there that it really isn't enough just to do the basics now. And publicans almost used to be able to let the business run itself, almost like you say, open the doors and they'll come in. Whereas now they really do have to treat the business as a business, and they have to focus on the business in that way, don't they? So
yes,
yeah, that's definitely another difference. You've got to be very much a business person as well as a publican. It's a number of hats. So
definitely.
Martin, you've had a varied career from the sharp end of hospitality through to, as we say, in 1992, starting Roslyns itself. And what would you say out of your career that you're most proud of?
I was the youngest licensee many years ago. I got my first license at 20 and 8 months. And the magistrate looked over, because obviously back then you had to go to court to be granted a license. And the magistrate looked over his glasses at me and said, I would expect someone more mature and more experienced to be taking on the site that you're taking. A license granted. So that is something to be proud of. I got my first hotel. I was general manager of my first hotel for 40 hotels when I was 25. And obviously the success of Roslyns as it is now is something that we're very proud of.
Sure. I suppose on the other side of that question then, Martin, what would you have done differently with the benefit of hindsight? What would you have done differently in your career?
I would have taken an Excel course. Everything that I have done, or the majority of what I've done, is self-taught. So I would definitely have liked to understand more about how Excel works. It would have made my life so much easier. Coupled on to that, I would like to be more IT literate. Obviously, we now employ lots of people that are very clever with IT, like yourself, like Lloyd and Jeff, but I would like to understand how it works. So I would definitely have changed that. I'm too long in the tooth now. I also believe, however, that you are what your mistakes make you. So would I change anything, good or bad, over the last 30 years? No, because I believe the company has learned a lot. I've learned a lot, and we have experienced from those good points and bad points. So I wouldn't change much else.
Oh, okay. So you touched on technology, the technological side of things. Now, obviously, Roslyns as a company has come from how you started off in 1992 with a lot less technology involved to where we are now. We're very much market leaders and use every aspect of technology that we can to help our clients and to deliver the best service that we can through using the technology. We develop a lot of technology in-house. Obviously, as you said, our IT manager, Lloyd, has led the pack at developing these fantastic systems for our clients to be able to use. But when you look at all of the things that we're doing now, Martin, in 2022, what would you say is a particular aspect you think, wow, this is something I didn't think would be doing? I didn't think this was going to be an option for Roslyns or any company almost.
Well, when you think everything's a wow, really, when you think when I first started writing, I was handwriting payslips and putting them into an envelope and sending them to the client to give to their staff. I was writing stock counts on pieces of A4 paper. And obviously now the payroll's instantaneous. The stock you put into a handheld, which then goes automatically to the computer, as do the invoices, as do the sales. It's all wow. To me, it's so far removed from where we were 30 years ago. I used to go and visit the clients and do the payroll and do the accounting and do the stock taking on site. And everything was manual. Everything was handwritten. So where we are now, it's all wow.
Yeah, I think I would agree, particularly with the payroll aspect of things. The idea of instant payroll compared to how you or I, when we were employing people, there's no having to wait for the postman to arrive with pay slips. There's no stuffing coins into little brown envelopes, and it's that's something that also amazes me when I look at what we do there.
Yeah.
Martin, obviously, Roslyns we're a hospitality specialist company. We have a very strong speciality knowledge in the pub industry. So I thought I'd ask you some quick fire, get to know you type questions based around the pub. Okay? Hold on to your hat.
Yeah.
Favourite pub?
Half a mile away is one of those traditional pubs that I spoke about earlier, with little tiny rooms, no music. A good pint of beer, although it's not my favourite, and some good food. So the favourite pub is the Black Bull just down the road.
There you go, a bit of mini free advertising for them. So you talked about your best. I won't ask you to say which drink it is they have there that you don't particularly like. What would you rather they had? What's your choice of pub drink?
A good pint of pedigree.
Oh, yes, lovely.
However, many, many years ago when I was working in London, I used to drink light and lager, but you can't get hold of light ale anymore. Right. So light and lager, but very, very close would be pedigree.
Well, I'm with you on the pedigree. I'm not sure about the other thing, but fair enough. Let's move on then to choice of pub meal. What are you eating while you get your pint of pedigree?
Pub meal would be a good steak and ale pie with thick cut chips and mushy peas.
Oh, mushy peas. Well, I'm very much with you on the steak and ale pie. I think I prefer my peas unmushed, but yeah, the steak and ale pie is good. Right, since you're touching on steak and ale pie, it's one of the debates that rages across the nation. The stew with the lid, the puff pastry lid, is that a pie or is that not a pie?
It's a pie, but I much prefer a good solid pastry base as well as a good pastry top.
Yeah, hedge your bets there. That's very wise. You don't want to end up on Twitter cancelled, #Piegate, something like that. That's the wrong way to go. So would you prefer sport in a pub or live music in a pub or neither?
Definitely neither. A good pub, good food, good beer.
Keeping it simple. I like it. And in that case, I can probably guess your answer, but darts, pool, or dominoes?
At a push, darts. If you think about it, the Rovers' return at Coronation Street would probably be a really good pub for me, because it's just beer and a darts board. That's fine.
Keeping it simple. I like it. Okay, Martin. So last question on the quickfire round. Famous person, alive or dead, that you would want to go for a pint with?
Doesn't even bother thinking about. Matthew Letizia. I would have a drink with him and enjoy every second of it. Fantastic.
Right, Martin, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one final question, and it's probably a bit of a toughie in itself, because after 30 years of Roslyns as a company adapting to the myriad of changes from smoking bans to financial crashes to COVID, the way we had to work through COVID, and now supporting the clients within the cost crises, we've been involved in a lot of tumultuous change in the hospitality industry and pubs in particular. What do you think's next for Roslyns, though, as a company? Where do you see Roslyns going, say, in the next 30 years?
Well, we've spoken a couple of times about payroll. That's not as far as it can go, but it's pretty close. Instantaneous payroll. As soon as you press a button, your members of staff have got pay slips. The same has to happen for accounts, within reason, obviously, but you should be able to, from last night's sales, see how much profit you have made month to date, week to date. That should, as far as possible, be instantaneous, together with the graphs that help you understand. We just need to use as much technology as possible and make things as instantaneous as possible. Tax returns, they should be ready when the tax year has finished, and so on. But also what's important is that we spend as much time as possible with the customers, that we help improve their business. There's a lot of people coming into the business that don't have our depth of knowledge and background of the industry. We need to impart as much of that as possible. And the important part of that is face-to-face meetings. I don't believe everything can be done on Zoom or other such media. But we also have to make sure that our staff are, as Jeff mentions, happy. That's one of his slogans. Jeff and I work very closely a lot of the time in not only making sure that the customers are getting the best value for the what they pay us, but also the staff get the most out of working for us and the most out of their business life. So what we have to do is we have to put even more emphasis on making sure that the staff are happy and the staff are fulfilled. Because if we have happy and fulfilled staff, that will then transmit into the client base and the business as a whole.
Yeah. Fantastic. Martin, thank you very much for joining me. I've got one very last question, though, and this is probably the most important question of any that I've asked. And people that are watching this video clip since it started will probably be asking the same question themselves. You've got a beautiful dog in the corner there. What's his name?
That's Balto.
Balto.
Balto, yeah.
Right, well, I'm going to let you and Balto go. Thank you very much for your time, Martin. And yeah, talk to you soon.
Thanks, Robbie.
Thank you.